Hello, I'm John Joe. Welcome to Line War. Today we have Meheecen versus Nomer 1232003. I'll just call him Nomer, I think. Meheecen is starting down in this section. They really wanted the sitters up in this section over here, but decided against it. Nomer is over here, and Nomer is starting off with 2 factories and 2 barracks so far. And there's a barracks over here actually, so 3. Meheecen is starting off with an airfield and 4 barracks, which I assume leaves him enough cash behind. It does, yeah. So he's trying to get this energy well. I would have thought he's going to need it soon. He built a barracks instead, but he probably can get this in a minute. He's going to need something, otherwise these air units aren't going to fly for long. But he does have time because he still has some energy stored up at the start of the game. So now both of these players are just going to expand across the map. Unfortunately for Meheecen, Nomer is not new at this game. He has started building SAM straight away. He knows that the air units can be a big threat already. And it looks like Meheecen's confident. He's going for some industry over here. So he's getting some eco going while he waits to find the enemy. So Nomer is actually closer to where they originally wanted. If you remember, this area was relatively blacklisted. And Nomer started close, whereas Meheecen started further away. So they both really wanted this location, and pretty much Nomer has it already. He hasn't quite got there, but he's uncontested to claim the land. So we have the energy well coming up now, just at the right time. I don't see any engagements happening just yet, but I think they'll be happening fairly soon. Probably in this forest area, which is going to be whoever has the most infantry, because infantry get them bonus in the forest. And the helicopters are already over here on standby, waiting to attack, so he can see the opponent. And he's going in right now. I'm switching down into ×2. So we got a good lot of helicopters over here in the SAM. Although built and ready, they were not on the front lines, which is unfortunate. But then if you put all your SAM over here and the attacks happen down here, which are also happening, then they'd be even further out of position. So maybe he was just waiting to find the enemy. There's a lot of units coming out from over here, and some units are commandos, so Meheecen's mostly going for infantry units, but he does have some commandos mixed in there. And he is trying to switch between them. Over here, Nomer has gone for a defense in the forest, and just on the edge of the forest means he'll still get the bonus for his infantry, but the enemy's got the same bonus anyway. Helicopters flying overhead just mean that he needs those SAM to get there faster. And he does have 3 SAM units coming in now. He's still got 2 back here, which he probably still needs to bring forward. He does need to get those going, and the helicopters have actually changed locations. They're going down to this front over here, which means the SAM over here are being put in the wrong place now. So I probably shouldn't say that, because I did say earlier they might do that, and he could bring these SAM units down here instead now. But there are 5 helicopters really moving about on the back lines of Meheecen, ready to attack and engage whenever needed, hiding out in the forest. It must be really hard to land a helicopter in a forest. I mean, like the trees. But it works. Nomer's placing a long defensive line right in the middle of the section here, which I wouldn't suggest, because having so much wide space, the enemy can just go around to the sides and attack there. Also, he's got it on top of an energy well, which means they're going to be sort of gapped around it. That might be a good thing, I'm not sure. It means you have less area to cover. Now the helicopters are coming over, negating this black line pretty much. And any unit is going to focus their attention on this line, coming into here instead of attacking the enemy. But Nomer has kept his artillery back. He hasn't used them on the front lines yet. And he is now bringing them in, protected with some SAM units. So this is what he's been waiting for. The right time to attack. He has securely defended this location. Meheecen is waiting here and is sending some units around the top, but Nomer actually does have quite a good front over here. Protected by a small group of SAMs, but not too small. The helicopters are coming in, taking out some artillery as the SAM fire above. And they are going to clear out most of these helicopters, but there should be some still stored in the back lines. Yeah, they're coming over here. You got 3 more. I'm starting to get the feeling that Meheecen spread himself out too thin now that we have some of these forces coming back into the engagement from expanding and these artillery moving down south. Looking on the front lines over here, the tanks are quite good, but swarmed on by infantry. I think the infantry would win if they were all together. And I don't think that's his plan. He's going to retreat and go for a huge defensive line, which is going to split the forces because these lines actually meet each other. But Meheecen's going in for the kill just as they start disengaging for this big black line over here, which means that they're going to be able to swarm around the sides of this line over there. And what's going on down here? Looks like Meheecen's on the retreat in the south, on the attack in the north. And the helicopters are now being called in to increase the pressure. This was a mistake in my opinion, unfortunately. If he didn't do that, his black line over here's defense would have been a lot more fuller. They wouldn't have been able to sneak around the sides, and there was only a few tanks in here. You don't need to cover the entirety of the mountains here, you just need to jump on those tanks. And now those tanks are jumping on the barracks and they're getting through. They've passed the line of defense here. And now they need to retreat once again. They've got another line defense here, but these tanks are just going to go around that. The helicopters are coming in to try and take on those tanks. And down in this section, Nomer does have stronger presence and will be able to push through there, but he may have to retreat to try and deal with the forces up in the north. Those tanks are literally stopped right outside an industry. I think Meheecen might be a little distracted somewhere else. He's got a fairly easy kill here that he's just not able to reach. And there we go, we've got one tank targeting that now. And he's going to strike command it, so as soon as it blows up, they're going to rush over here. He thinks there's an energy well over here, which, fortunately for Nomer, is not quite true. And now this defensive line is getting jumped on by Meheecen. I assume this might be a response to the aggression down in the south, which is being protected by anything and everything Meheecen can, but maybe setting up a defensive line here, backed up by some helicopters, would probably be the answer, but mostly good for artillery, and he doesn't seem to have much. He's going for tanks. So it might be worth just trying to push through like he is. And those tanks did clear up some of the structures over in this section. Even though the energy well wasn't there, they were still useful, taking out what they could find. And the infantry are literally trying to jump on this location before they can set up their defences. And Nomer's doing their best to try and get any units involved in the areas they can, but some commandos are sneaking in onto the front lines, trying to find any other location. They're going around past an industry there and another one there, so that's what their targets are. And the tanks sneaking through the back of the defense over here, managing to get into the structures. They take one out. There are 4 tanks here. And they're going to target this back structure here, just out of range of the defensive units. But a striker and the helicopters are being called in, but I don't think they can destroy it before another building goes down. They can. Down in this section though, Meheecen is actually pushing back. Nomer is unable to defend in this choke point here anymore, which means Meheecen is going to be pushing on both fronts now. Or I say that, he's lost in this section, but he has set up a proxy area to be able to send in more units. I have noticed that Nomer does seem to use a lot of large defensive lines. You probably want to group them up into small groups, so like have small bit there, a small bit here, and a small bit there. That way, if you need to change them, you can move them and do stuff with them. They're a bit more versatile. And also, when you're setting them up, it's a lot harder to try and do a whole line like that, unless you already have the units there. So Al Meheecen is clearing up this defense that's just been set up in time. Well, not in time, just unfortunately a bit too late. They've spotted the structure in the forest over here, and the helicopters are going to try and jump on that very quickly and take that out before any of the units over here can get involved here. There's quite a lot of helicopters here. It's going to take a fair bit of anti-air to take those out. And the strikers are coming in, but I've just noticed there isn't really any SAM units, but these helicopters, once in the air, will probably be able to take that striker out pretty quickly. Up in the north, Nomer is potentially going to try and push back into the forest, but Al Meheecen is setting up defences in the mountainous foresty area here, and still has his commandos in the area. Strikers are flying overhead, relatively uncontested. Those helicopters seem to be more preoccupied with other things. Oh no, they've decided they didn't like it, then they fired quite a few missiles at it. But the striker does survive. Al Meheecen's got a tank straying, oh actually a few tanks straying off to the side. Coming up all the way over to the energy wow, and he has managed to get his units right into the back of their base. Does Nomer not see that? He doesn't. He only sees it at this point. And this one, because they've come in there too. So he's been jumped on pretty heavily from a couple of tanks that just managed to stray off to the side over here. And that's going to be pretty devastating, especially as there's an airfield here, which I don't think Al Meheecen knows about, otherwise he probably would be targeting it. But as tanks pass through this one by one, they won't have a lot of vision to see in that section. Unfortunately, Nomer waved the white flag and he has given up the game. Al Meheecen was the winner, and let me know what you guys think of that. Feel free to comment in the comment box below, and there's 2 videos on screen right now, so feel free to click on one and I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.